Border czar Tom Homan now says he's coming to Boston and all hell is about to break loose. Good morning, Kuhner country. Okay, my friends, Tom Homan now, Trump's border czar, has now thrown down the gauntlet. And he's going to go after sanctuary city mayors, sanctuary city police commissioners, and now he's picking Boston, apparently, as his first target. At a speech in CPAC over the weekend, a fiery speech, Tom Homan said, I looked at the numbers and I stopped counting after 9. 9 child rapists. Let me repeat that, my friends. 9 child rapists. Men, women who raped children were let loose on the streets of Boston who had detainers on them from ICE. And the police commissioner of Boston and the mayor of Boston, Marxist Michelle Wu, Moonbat Michelle, refused to comply with the detainers. I stopped counting after 9, Homan says. We are coming to Boston, and now we are going to unleash hell. Roll cut 1, Mike.
I read a story last night, the police commissioner of Boston. You said you doubled down on not helping the law enforcement officers of ICE. I'm coming to Boston. I'm bringing hell with me.
Now, he's referring to Boston Police Commissioner Michael Cox, who, as I wrote on X last night, and I want to reiterate it publicly right now, is nothing more than a political hack. He is a political lackey of Michelle Wu. This is not a law enforcement man. He's not a serious law enforcement man. This guy is not a cop. He's not interested in law enforcement. He is simply doing the political bidding of City Hall. Michelle Wu, backed now by Maura Healey and Markey and Elizabeth Warren, the entire mass congressional delegation, they are spoiling for a fight with Donald Trump. They want to keep Massachusetts a sanctuary state. They want to keep Boston, which is their crown jewel, a sanctuary city. And they are now openly telling the Trump administration that they will defy federal immigration law, that they will continue to uphold Boston and Massachusetts' illegal sanctuary jurisdiction for criminals, because that's what illegal aliens are. They are criminals who came into our country illegally. Many of them violent criminal illegal aliens. And that they will continue to harbor illegals in the city of Boston and in the state of Massachusetts, which is a crime. In an interview on Channel 5, Michael Cox, the police commissioner, doubled, even tripled down, saying that Boston police, under his command and his authority, under his orders, will not comply with ICE federal civil immigration detainers. That ICE is not welcome in Boston, that the police will not cooperate with ICE, and that Boston, under his leadership, backed by Michelle Wu, is going to remain a sanctuary city. Listen now to Tom Homan saying, enough is enough. You are aiding and abetting not just illegal aliens, which is a crime, but the most heinous, dangerous, vile criminal illegals imaginable. Individuals who have raped children. Roll cut 1A, Mike.
I looked at the numbers this morning. I stopped counting at 9. 9 child rapists that were in jail in Massachusetts, but rather than honoring an ICE detainer, release them back into the street. You're not a police commissioner. Take that badge off your chest, put it in the desk drawer, because you became a politician. You forgot what it's like to be a cop.
He's completely right. He's completely right. And look, the innocent, law-abiding citizens of Boston and of Massachusetts, all of us, have been betrayed. Let's be crystal clear. We have been betrayed now for years. And enough is enough. Truly, enough is enough. And I know this is very popular with the woke left in this state, with the hardcore anti-Trump, the resistance moonbats. I'm telling you that the taxpayers of the city of Boston, the taxpayers and the good, decent, law-abiding people of Massachusetts, never mind of the entire country, are sick and tired, literally sick and tired of these traitors. And that's what they are. They are traitors who refuse to abide and comply with the law, and who put the interests of not just illegal aliens, but of violent, criminal illegal aliens above law-abiding citizens and residents. Michelle Wu last night, in response to what Tom Homan said, came out with this statement. Roll cut 2. Mike.
It's pretty clueless for someone to be insulting our police commissioner, whose decades of experience, whose leadership in the role, and whose results with our amazing police department speak for themselves. We are at the least number of homicides since at least 1957, when reliable records started being kept. You get great results when every single member of the community feels safe taking their kids to school, calling 911 when they need help. We're going to keep doing what we do in Boston, which is keeping everyone in our community safe. We're very proud to be the safest major city in the country.
I mean, I don't know where to begin. Seriously. I mean, this is Goebbels-esque in terms of the lies and misinformation. No, let's do it the way the left likes it. Misinformatio. Let's do it in the original Russian. Okay? Disinformatio. The disinformation, the misinformation, the lies. First of all, your ridiculous statistics about the lowest murder rate since we've ever had recorded statistics. You've given the order, Michelle Wu, not to count murders among illegals. So we don't know what the real murder rate is in Boston. We can just see the bodies everywhere. What about the fentanyl that pours in? Coming in from Dominican gangs and other gangs, the Mexican drug cartels who come in illegally from the southern border. No, that doesn't count. No. So for her to claim now that all of a sudden it is so safe in Boston, oh my God, it's never been this safe because we harbor illegals. This woman is insane. She's literally insane. And then this guy, you call yourself a police commissioner. He is Michelle Wu's political poodle. That's what he is. Listen now to this clown, Michael Cox, on Channel 5 with Ed Harding. And let me just say this about Ed Harding. I've never been a fan of his. He's an empty suit. Okay, everybody knows that. With that ridiculous toupee and the way he looks on TV. He looks like a clown, okay? And he's an empty suit. But, geez, Ed, would it kill you to ask him a tough question? I don't know. Would it kill you to hold his feet to the fire? I mean, seriously. Would it kill you to, I don't know, hold him accountable and maybe do a couple of aggressive follow-up questions? Instead, like everybody else in the liberal, bought, and paid-for media in this corrupt state, it's softball after softball after softball. Listen now. This is Michael Cox, Commissioner. How much time left, Mike? All right, with Ed Harding on Channel 5. Look at this. Listen to this. We won't comply with federal ICE detainers. Roll cut 2A. Mike.
In the Boston Police Department has pretty defined rules set by the law, and we abide by the law here in the state. And we don't, enforce civil detainers regarding federal immigration law. It's, it's defined here in the state, and that's just how it works.
That's just how it works. That's just how it works. Now notice, being a sanctuary city, which is illegal, somehow we're following the law. Being a sanctuary state, which is illegal, in direct violation, in direct defiance of federal immigration law and the Constitution, may I add, suddenly that's all legal. So lawlessness is legal. Anarchy is legal. Being a harbor and a magnet for illegal aliens, never mind criminal, violent illegals. No. That's all kosher now, according to this guy who calls himself a police officer. And Homan is right. If he had any honor, he would take that badge off his chest. The time for talk is over. My advice now to Tom Homan. You've now thrown down the gauntlet. Do it. Send in the marshals. Send in ICE. Arrest Michelle Wu. Arrest Michael Cox. And end this farce that is going on in the city of Boston. Your reaction, your calls. Next. Okay, Tom Homan now promises to unleash hell on the city of Boston for the fact now that its mayor, Marxist Michelle Wu, and its police commissioner, Michael Cox, her lackey, are refusing to comply. They keep saying, well, we're not obligated to comply with civil detainers from ICE. Well, what about criminal detainers? I mean, so what? A child rapist? That's a civil matter now? I mean, just think of the logic of this. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, and then they said we just stopped counting. People who are convicted or charged with raping children, literally illegal aliens, raping children, released back onto the streets of Boston, and they won't honor an ICE detainer? And this guy Michael Cox calls himself a cop? And Michelle Wu calls herself a mayor? Arrest him. Look, I love Tom Homan. I love the guy. You have no idea how much I love the guy. I think he's absolutely perfect for the job. But after a while, talk is cheap. Just do it. Make an example out of Mayor Wu. Make an example out of Michael Cox. Make an example out of the insane moonbats in this state who think that they can pick and choose what laws they'll comply with and what laws they won't comply with. And above all, how dare they make this entire state and this city of Boston a sanctuary, a safe harbor for some of the most dangerous, violent, criminal illegals in the world. And you know who's paying for all this, my friends? A you and a me, the taxpayers. Now, immediately, Markula, Senator Ed Markey, I want to take your money. I want to suck your blood. Ed Markey right away came out in defense of Michelle Wu and Michael Cox. Elizabeth Warren now, full defense of Wu and Cox. The Massachusetts congressional delegation, full defense of Wu and Cox. So what they want is they want Massachusetts now to openly defy, to nullify federal immigration laws and to essentially go rogue as a state in defiance as part of the resistance to Trump and the Trump administration. Now, I just want to read this from Larry, and then I promise I want to go to the phone lines because the lines are jammed. It's from Larry on Messenger, and I think he's really onto something. Jeff, do you think that Governor Healy, Hiawatha, and Markula are using Wu as a useful idiot? Tough talk until Wu gets strung up. Well, Wu better be very careful, because Markey and Elizabeth Warren, it's easy for them to flap their mouths because they're not in any legal jeopardy on this. Wu, however, and Cox are. They're on the front lines. They're the ones who are now clearly defying the law and breaking their oath. They're the ones who can be now put in handcuffs. At a bare minimum, Homan has to come into Boston with a massive show of force, arrest a ton of criminal illegal aliens, and demand that Trump cut all federal funding to Boston and to the entire Commonwealth. And then ask the residents and taxpayers, is this what you want? Is this what you voted for? In other words, it's time for Homan to fish or cut bait. The talk is over. Do it. Arrest Wu, arrest Michael Cox, make an example of them, and tell the rest of America we will no longer tolerate lawlessness, anarchy, or violations of federal immigration law. Agree, disagree, 617-266-6868. Lines are loaded. Mike, who do you want me to go to first? Dane in South Dakota. Thanks for holding, Dane, and welcome.
Welcome. Thank you, Jeff. Listen, my blood is boiling. However, I have tears in my eyes. I'm so choked up because someone like myself, who's been a victim of a brother that was murdered, I can feel the absolute pain from these parents who have lost children, okay, to pedophiles that were raped and murdered. And also, Jeff, what about Lincoln Riley Act, the very first piece of legislation that was signed by President Trump? These SOBs, this mayor, this state of Massachusetts and Boston has blood on its hands. Okay? They should be arrested immediately. They are breaking federal law. They should be arrested. And I want to say something else, Jeff. Last year you did a wonderful event for the veterans, okay, on the state capitol. I came all the way from South Dakota to be there. Okay? I will come there again if you lead another rally to support Tom Homan when he comes into Boston, and bring 10,000 people this town and show the support that this cannot happen anymore. This is a tragedy. It's a travesty of justice. You're just honoring these people that were murdered, these illegal victims. Kristi Noem was showing pictures this week.
Dane, right out of the gate, caller of the week. Right away. I'm Dane, I'm telling you. Right away. Out of the gate, you're already a contender for caller of the week. Dane, outstanding call. I couldn't have said it better myself. Agree, disagree, your call's next. We're on a collision course. Trump and the Moonbats of Massachusetts. 632 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, Mayor Michelle Wu and Boston Police Commissioner Michael Cox are now in the political crosshairs of border czar Tom Homan and of President Trump. I want to replay the cut. Listen now to Homan. This was a speech he delivered at CPAC over the weekend, saying he's had enough with Boston, with Massachusetts, with sanctuary cities in general, across the whole country, obviously. But he says Boston now has become public enemy number one. Roll cut one, Mike.
I read a story last night, the police commissioner of Boston. You said you doubled down on not helping the law enforcement officers of ICE. I'm coming to Boston. I'm bringing hell with me.
Good. Now, let's hope we'll see some follow through. That's all I want now. And look, I have to say this, and I want to go right back to the phone lines. For him to so publicly call out Michael Cox, the Boston police commissioner, and Marxist Michelle Wu, okay, the mayor of Boston, if he backs down now, he's going to lose a lot of authority. It is going to undermine his prestige, his authority, his standing. You don't want to come across as a person who's all talk and no action. So by throwing down the gauntlet, to me, Homan now has to move in and move in heavy. And he won't find a shortage of criminal illegals in Boston, I can tell you this, or in Massachusetts or in the greater Boston area. And look, I think now he's got to come down and come down hard. And in particular, he's got to tell the Boston police commissioner, get out of my way or I'm locking you up. Michelle Wu, get out of my way or I'm locking you up. And I think what he's also got to do is when he starts making arrests of these child rapists and the murderers and the gangbangers, he's got to call the cameras, call the media, and say, we had detainers on this guy, and on this guy, and on this guy, and on this guy. And you guys can't comply with a freaking detainer? You're protecting them over the innocent, law-abiding citizens of this city and of this state? We are not going to tolerate this anymore. Anymore. No one is above the law. That's what the left keeps saying over and over again when it came to Trump. Well, now we're going to flip it on them. To Michelle Wu, to Maura Healey, to Michael Cox. No one is above the law. To Tom Homan, slap the cuffs on him, put him behind bars, teach him a lesson once and for all. Agree, disagree, 617-266-6868. At a bare minimum, cut their federal funding. Cut Boston's funding, cut Massachusetts' funding, hit them where it hurts, right in the pocketbook. And then trust me, they're going to start being a lot more compliant when it comes to these detainers. Angelo in Rockland. Thanks for holding, Angelo, and welcome.
Hey, good morning, Jeff. How are you today?
Very good. How are you, Angelo?
Doing pretty good. Skiing's good up in New Hampshire. Hey, let me just say this. The American way usually follows New England because New England people are from all over the world, knowledgeable, hardworking people, and they keep a good trend going. But this type of trend of harboring this type of people that are illegal and stuff has to stop. So I just want to say that Boston Mayor Wu, get some chapstick because you got to kiss the ring soon. It's over. American people do not want this. Massachusetts, if you had a vote, they'd say get him out, and that's the end of it. But just want to say I'm on the side of sanity. That's all, sanity.
Well, you nailed it, Angelo. I think you summed it up very well. This should not be a right-left issue. It shouldn't. Republican, conservative, whatever. Republican, Democrat, forgive me. Conservative, liberal, right, left. No. This is either sane or insane. This is either law-abiding or anarchy. That's what this is. And so either we're a nation of laws or we're not a nation of laws. And look, there's no question. In the last 10 years, Boston has declined, and it breaks my heart to say it, and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts has declined. Crime is up. Michelle Wu is lying. Crime is way up. You've got gangs now are much more prevalent. Drugs, fentanyl, much more prevalent. There are more potholes now than ever. I mean, you can just go down and, just look at Mass and Cass. You've got homeless encampments everywhere. You've got addicts shooting up right there on the streets. I mean, the quality of life, taxes have gone up. Massachusetts is an incredibly expensive state. Rent has skyrocketed. So housing has skyrocketed. Everything has gone up. And now they have flooded this state with God knows how many illegals, how many criminal illegals. And I'm going to get to this later in the show, but I don't know if you heard about this, Angelo. Now, because they've put so many illegals onto the Mass Health, which is the state's Medicaid system, they've given so much free health care to all of these illegals coming in. Now, in her budget, Maura Healey wants to raise taxes. We're going to have to pay for all this. She wants to raise the excise tax on prescription drugs. So every time you buy a prescription, you're going to be taxed $2. $2 per prescription. Now, I have cholesterol, I have high blood pressure, I have prescription drugs. So every time I go to my local CVS, every prescription is going to cost me $2 to pay for illegals, to pay for their free health care and their housing and their welfare, because she's raided the budget. $3 billion and counting to pay for these illegals? No, I don't think so. No. I'm not paying her stupid $2 excise tax. I'm telling you, I'm not. Senior citizens, many of whom are on prescription medications, they're going to have to cough up $2 for every prescription that they go out and buy? So we're going to have to subsidize her illegals who she's putting up in her hotels? And by the way, all free. Healthcare for them is free. Everything is free. No, absolutely not. No way. It ends. It stops. Enough is enough. I'm telling you, you're going to see a taxpayer revolt in this state. People are not going to pay their taxes anymore if this continues. Or we're just going to all leave. And then they're up a creek without a paddle. Because without you, Angelo, without me, without this audience, the backbone of this state, we're the ones who pay the taxes. We're the ones who get up every morning and work hard to put food on our table. You chase us away, you've got nothing. So I'm with Tom Homan on this all the way. They've driven our state and the city into a third world hellhole. We want to restore it to becoming a first world city and state again. Angelo, thank you for that call. Am I wrong? I'm asking all of you, seriously, am I wrong? There's only so much you can take. And so now we got to pay $2 a prescription because Healy's raided the rainy day fund? They've gone through all the money. They've burned through all the money. And I said this. I said, you watch. There's only so many freeloaders any society, any city, any state can take. And after a while, when you keep bringing in this many illegals and you give them housing for free or rental assistance, whatever you want to call it, and you give them free food and free, in this case, mass health, free Medicaid, free health insurance, everything free, well, it's got to come out of somewhere. Either it's going to be cuts to social services, bingo, which is exactly what happened, or higher taxes, bingo, which is now what is starting to happen. Now, I'm not paying for Healy's illegals. The answer is no. 617-266-6868 is the number. So I want to ask all of you. Tom Homan now has issued a direct challenge to Michelle Wu and Michael Cox, the police commissioner. Comply with federal immigration law or go to jail, should they? 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, this is from Dave, our Western PA correspondent, on Messenger. Jeff, arrest all of these deep state hacks, including Maura Healey, Michelle Wu, Boston Police Commissioner Michael Cox, anyone who thinks they're above the law. I'm with you. Dave, I'm with you, buddy. Look, at a bare minimum, okay, it's time for Homan, along now with the Department of Justice. And we got big news last night. Huge victory for us. So not only is Pam Bondi now the new Attorney General, Not only is Kash Patel the new FBI director, but Dan Bongino has now been appointed by Trump and by Kash Patel to be the FBI's new deputy director. Basically, Kash Patel's number 2 and his right-hand man. Bongino is not afraid to make arrests. That I can tell you. Kash Patel is not afraid to make arrests. Pam Bondi is not afraid to make arrests. So at a bare minimum, have the Department of Justice under Kash Patel and Pam Bondi and Dan Bongino investigate Mayor Michelle Wu. Investigate Michelle, Marxist Michelle. Investigate Michael Cox. Investigate Maura Healey. Put the squeeze on them. And cut, and simultaneously with the Trump administration cutting federal funding. So let them feel both the legal and political pressure and the economic pressure. Okay? At a bare minimum, they've got to now realize that the days of anarchy and lawlessness and harboring violent, criminal, illegal aliens is over. Is over. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris lost. Trump won. We want secure borders. We want secure cities. We want a secure country. And we're not taking no for an answer. Agree, disagree, 617-266-6868. Jimmy in Dorchester. Thanks for holding, Jimmy, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. I got to say something about Wu. I got 12 of my buddies that I went to high school with that were Boston police officers. They're retired. They got their sons. There was an incident that happened in April with Wu where she covered this up. They went to a project in South Boston, Mary McCormick. In that project, when they got through those doors, the police officers found 3 naked men with sex toys, fetus all over the floors, feces, a dead body in the bed. When they opened up the closet, who were these 3 children that were naked with one of these sickos that had sex toys in the closet and laid out on the floor? What happened there? She squashed it. The press didn't talk about it. Maybe for a couple of minutes, all the channels and all that, a couple of minutes, they showed just the building. They didn't say nothing about what happened. She hid all of that, Jeff. And these police officers said if there's a police officer, because they worry about their sons, they're Boston police officers. If somebody, they're praying to God that it doesn't happen, where one of them gets shot or killed by these illegals that are here.
Jimmy, look, it's a horror show. If you, just to add to what you're saying, everything what you're saying, I completely believe. What they're showing now at these shelters, she's been forced now to release incidents reports. She was forced. Okay, this is from Maura Healey and Michelle Wu. They had to release the incidents reports. Okay, Healey in particular. Nearly 3,000 pages. 3,000 pages, Jimmy. Police officers being called to all of these hotels, shelters, motels. Drugs, fentanyl, domestic violence, rapes, assaults, beatings, sex trafficking, children raped, young girls, I'm talking 13 years old, raped and impregnated. This is what's happening in the shelter system under Maura Healey and under Michelle Wu. Okay, and Michael Cox, that loser police commissioner, who's deliberately turning a blind eye to all of this because he's basically licking Michelle Wu's boots. So this is a scandal of the highest magnitude and the highest proportion. And let me just add this, Jimmy. This is a bit on the smaller level. But I want to, because remember now, they've just appropriated another $425 million of our money through the state legislature to continue to fund all of these, Healey's hotels. So it went from 2.5 billion, add another 425 million. We're basically at 3 billion. That's all our money. That's why she wants to raise taxes now, $2 on every prescription medication. Anybody, you go to the pharmacy, Walmart, CVS, I don't care where, or Walgreens, wherever you go, every prescription, $2 tax to pay for illegals in the hotels and for illegals on mass health, okay, which is state Medicaid, so free health care. In the incidence reports, they show, listen to this, that the illegals under Healy and Wu use ambulances. Ambulances, you know, you're whatever, you got a heart attack, you call an ambulance, it takes you to the hospital. They use ambulances as like their own Uber system. That's how much they're charging us. That's how much they're freeloading us. So it's report after report after report where a young girl has to get her medication changed, or her parents tell her, you're not going to the prom because they don't like some guy she's involved with, you know, one of these illegals staying at a hotel. She throws a temper tantrum. What do you think they do? Call an ambulance. I'm not kidding. The ambulance comes. What's the problem? Oh, the whole family goes into the ambulance. They take her to the emergency room. They give her anti-anxiety medication. They calm her down. It doesn't matter what it is. I'm not kidding. The smallest thing. There's a domestic dispute. One of the teenage kids is mouthing off at the parents and starts swearing and yelling and screaming and throwing a massive temper tantrum. What do you think they do? They call an ambulance. Seriously. And then they gotta come, and they gotta calm the teenager down, and they put the teenager in the ambulance, and guess what? They go to the hospital, and they give her some more medication, and then they send her back. Now, how many times have you taken an ambulance? How many times have I taken an ambulance? Let me ask all of you, how many times have you taken an ambulance? They use it like it's their own personal Uber and Lyft. Do you know how freaking expensive that is? This is how insane the whole system is. It's in the incidence reports. I mean, no one's making this up. And to pay for it, I gotta pay $2 per prescription? F you. That's my answer to Maura Healey. I'm telling you, F you. That's the answer. F you. Go F yourself. I'm sorry. And that should be the response of every single taxpayer in this state. And on top of that, child rapists. Honest to God, Jimmy, I don't know of any more heinous crime. Rape, child rape, I don't know how you do that. And they're releasing them out on the streets, one after another, charged with the most vile crimes imaginable. They're in our country illegally. ICE has a detainer on them. And Michelle Wu says, get lost. To ICE. Michael Cox, the police commissioner, that hack, says get lost. We don't honor ICE detainers here. You are literally protecting and coddling child rapists? I want to play, and then I get your reaction, Jimmy. This is Tom Homan at CPAC. Because he's not 100, he's 1,000% correct. It's time for Michael Cox to take that badge off of his chest and throw it in the desk drawer. Because you're a moonbat political hack. That's what you are. You're not a law enforcement man. You're not a police officer. You're no police commissioner. No. He wants to be mayor. He wants to be governor. He wants to be in the next Diana Presley. He wants to be the next Elizabeth Warren. He's using his office and his badge to make a political name for himself among the resistance. That's what this is all about. Roll cut 2. Sorry, my bad. Roll cut 1A, Mike.
I looked at the numbers this morning. I stopped counting at 9. nine child rapists that were in jail in Massachusetts. But rather than honoring an ICE detainer, release them back into the street. You're not a police commissioner. Take that badge off your chest, put it in the desk drawer. Because you became a politician, you forgot what it's like to be a cop.
He's dead on. He's dead on. Look, I'm sorry, man. Michael Cox has to go. He's got to be fired. Michelle Wu has to go. Maura Healey has to go. The entire corrupt leadership has to go. Final word to you, Jimmy. Did we lose Jimmy? Okay, Jimmy, thank you very much for that call. No, I'm not surprised that the police now found out about children being molested and raped, and Michelle Wu is covering it up. Because that's what they do in this state. I said this a long time ago, and I said it again last week. They are covering up child sexual predators in this state. And I don't know why. Everybody's got a theory, but they keep doing it. Now, I just want to say this, okay? Again, I love Tom Homan. I love the guy, so please don't take this the wrong way. But I see him on Fox now almost every night. And he's always flapping his mouth. And, he's saying all the right things, don't get me wrong, but forgive me. After a while, you got to walk the walk, not just talk the talk. So I hope after his dramatic, fiery speech over the weekend that he does move in heavy and he does go after Michael Cox and he goes after Michelle Wu. Because after a while, no one's going to take you seriously. It's like the one who cries wolf. So, to Tom Homan, my suggestion is a little less talking and a little more arresting. Agree, disagree, 617-266-6868. Will in Florida. Thanks for holding, Will, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. I want to talk about Tom Homan a bit because I think you're missing half the battle. Let's go back to 2008, but if you really want to, we can go back to 1988. ICE, and before its iteration as ICE, it was something else, has been staffed for years by liberals and Democrats, which means who got promoted? Liberals and Democrats, which means Tom Homan is fighting a battle at his front and fighting a battle at his back. Now, he's managed to secure the border pretty much in 30 days. It's been a month. And there's an old soldier saying that said with dripping sarcasm, the war is never over by Christmas. Back up and let the man work.
Oh, I'm with you. But I'm just saying, now, look, he's the one. Look, I'm backing him all the way. All I'm saying, Will, is now it's do it. You've called him out. Great. Now do it. You're going to bring hell to Boston? Bring hell to Boston. You're saying that Michael Cox has dishonored his badge? I agree. Now make an example out of him. That Michelle Wu is openly breaking the law? Make an example out of her. That's all I'm saying, Will. All I'm saying is you gave a great speech. Now, let's see some ICE agents. Let's see them, U.S. Marshals, start rolling into Boston today, this morning. Am I wrong?
Let me respond to that with a question. What was the span of time between Pearl Harbor and the Doolittle raid?
Yeah, but we're not talking about World War II, Will. We're talking about deportations.
Are we not? Are we not talking about World War II?
No, we're not talking about World War II. No, I'm sorry, we're not. No, we're not talking about World War II. We're not talking about fighting a massive Pacific empire that occupied over a dozen countries and fighting the greatest war machine in Europe that humankind ever saw. We're talking about enforcing the laws in our country. And Michael Cox, the Boston police commissioner, on record, that's why Homan reacted, rightfully, to an interview that he gave saying, no, I'm not honoring ICE detainers. So we have Michael Cox on record saying, I want to thwart and defy the law. How much more do you need? We have Homan on record, rightfully saying, they're releasing child rapists in Massachusetts who should not even be in our country. And Michelle Wu is fully supporting all of this. Send in the U.S. Marshals. Cut off federal funding. And B, send in the U.S. Marshals. Send in ICE agents. Start making arrests. I'm not asking you to wait. What, you got to wait 6 months? Wait for what? We know where the police commissioner is. We know where the mayor is. Go. What are you waiting for? I mean, what am I missing here, Will?
I get front in the battle. Okay, he sends in U.S. Marshals. Are those the same U.S. Marshals that wouldn't protect the Supreme Court after the Dobbs decision? Does he send in the Justice Department? Pam Bondi's been in office for what, 3 weeks? Does he send in the FBI? Kash Patel's had 4 days. There's a lot of rot there that has to be fixed first.
So when do you think? So he says all hell is going to pay, that they're going to unleash hell in Boston. So how long do we wait? Tell me. How long do we wait to do the obvious? Well, how long do you want to wait? 3 months? 6 months? 9 months? A year? Like, how long? I mean, he's got an army of ICE agents at his disposal. Pam Bondi's not even making your argument. She says that she's ready to start investigating people right now. Kash Patel says he's ready to investigate. So what's the problem? What, they can't even launch an investigation? Is that what you're telling me, Will? That's impossible to do that now?
To make this mess.
I'm sorry, I missed that. Say it again. To make what mess?
I'm asking you how long it took to make this mess. How long did it take to get this bad? The cleanup's going to take a while.
Yeah, why don't we put a shovel in the ground? No one's asking them to clean up the whole mess in 30 days. But the fact of the matter is, again, you won't answer my question. So how long do we have to wait until we start moving on the Boston Police Commissioner? How long? Or the mayor of Boston? How long? Or the governor of Massachusetts? How long? And then you've got the mayor of Denver. And then you've got the mayor of Chicago. And then you've got the mayor of New York. And then you've got the mayor of L.A. So if it's going to take 6 to 9 months to a year to move on one mayor, well, then we're going to be at this forever. So, yes, it's a big mess. I agree with you. It's going to take a long time to clean up. I agree with you. Start cleaning up. Put a shovel in the ground, dig. And then another shovel, dig. And that's how you clean up a mess. I mean, Will, I don't know what we're arguing about. He says he's bringing ICE to Boston. All hell's going to break loose. All I'm saying is bring them to Boston and unleash hell. Do it. Do it. And what? We got to wait? I'm tired of waiting. The country's tired of waiting. We've waited long enough. Will, thank you for that call. 617-266-6868. So let me throw this log on the fire. Will says that Tom Homan should wait. That, I don't know, he's got to go through everybody at ICE. He's got to go through Border Patrol. He's got to go through U.S. Marshals. Pam Bondi needs more time on the job. Kash Patel needs more time on the job. Dan Bongino needs more time on the job. We have their public statements. I mean, it's all on the record. We have their actions. It's all on the record. You know, here, at a bare minimum, cut off their federal funding. Well, why not do that? Start an investigation. Why not do that? No? Too much? Too fast? At this glacial pace, nothing's going to get fixed. It's time to move, and it's time to move now. Agree? Disagree? Mark in Medford. Thanks for holding, Mark, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. First of all, ICE has been in Boston since day one that Trump took office making arrests, and the Boston police have not gotten in the way, because they can't get in the way. They know they can't get in the way, okay? And what Homan said over the weekend, it's just going to get even more complicated for Boston. Okay? What do you think on that, first of all?
Oh, you're dead on. ICE has been making a lot of arrests in Boston.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if you heard about this, Mark, but Trump's not happy with the pace of arrests. In fact, he's now replaced the, I'm drawing a blank now, but basically the person in charge of ICE. He's now replaced the person in charge of ICE, the ICE director, saying that he wants more results, quicker results in New York, in Boston, LA, all of these sanctuary cities. But they're here, they're operating, and they're making arrests. No question. No question. Please keep going, Mark.
Question, Jeff. This is simple law, okay? Someone should sit down with Mayor Wu and Maura Healey and the police commissioner of Boston and ask this question. Let me ask you, Jeff. If I murdered someone today, and I came to your house and said, Jeff, I just murdered someone. Can I hide out at your house? And you say yes. What's that called?
Accomplice after the fact. Mark, please hang on. You're making a brilliant point. We're going to go back to Mark. I'm up against a hard break. Should Homan and ICE move in heavy into the city of Boston? Your reaction next. 7:20 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, it's the biggest story in the country, no doubt about it. Tom Homan, Trump's border czar, at a very passionate, fiery speech at CPAC, now has thrown down the gauntlet. It's showdown at high noon. He has now told Boston Mayor Michelle Wu, radical leftist, a big staunch supporter of Boston as a sanctuary city, and Boston's police commissioner Michael Cox, who is standing right by Michelle Wu and defending Boston's sanctuary city status, that now he is done with them. He is coming to Boston. He's coming in heavy with ICE agents, and he's going to, quote unquote, unleash hell. My question to you, is it time to cut Boston's federal funding, maybe even for the entire state, for being a sanctuary jurisdiction and for openly violating federal immigration law? And is it also time to maybe make an example and start arresting politicians, mayors, and governors, starting with Michelle Wu and Michael Cox? Let's go back to Mark in Medford. He was making a really, really good point. If he was, if he murdered somebody or committed a serious crime, came to my home and said, will you give me shelter? Will you harbor me? What would happen to me? I would be arrested for being an accomplice after the fact. Mark, please pick up where you left off.
Just as guilty as I am, Jeff, for harboring a fugitive. And you know what, Jeff? You know what scares me about this sanctuary nonsense? Is that, what if there are legal citizens here that are criminals? And they start to get the notion in their head saying, you know what? If we're a sanctuary city, then why can't I break the law and do the same thing? And then, Jeff, we'll have double the problems. This is not a good thing. Sanctuary cities are against the law, Jeff. Am I right on that?
You're completely right. And Mark, just to underline and piggyback off of what you're saying, notice now, take Boston, but we can go San Francisco, we can go Chicago, we can go New York, we can go Denver. We can just go all over the country. Basically now many crimes have become decriminalized. Not just for illegals, for citizens, for residents. Shoplifting under $1,000. You're not going to get arrested for that. Drug dealing, if it's under a certain amount, you're not going to get arrested for that. I could go on and on, vandalizing property or destroying private property. We're not going to get arrested for that. Or you're not going to be charged. Let's put it that way. So they're already, it's like a cancer. Lawlessness and anarchy breeds more lawlessness and anarchy. And that's what you're starting to see. Now, I got to ask you something, Mark. Michelle Wu is insisting that Boston is an incredibly safe city. That Boston, the murder rate is at, it's below ever, literally, in the history of Boston, since we took statistics. That we're the safest city in the country, maybe one of the safest cities in the world. And that's because we're a sanctuary city. We welcome everybody. What say you?
Well, Jeff, I was born and raised and I grew up in the North End, okay? So I'm going to go out on a limb and say that is probably the safest neighborhood in the whole city of Boston. Everybody knows who you are, and you can't get away with crap down there, okay? But as far as the rest of the city goes, Mayor Wu is full of crap, okay? And I have a message for Mayor Wu, but I'm gonna relay this message as only the immortal Hulk Hogan would relay this message. What you gonna do, Wu, when Tom Homan brings hell down on you, brother?
Oh, Mark, I love it. I love it. Mark, thank you very much for that call. 617-266-6868 is the number. David in Boston. Thanks for holding, David, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, David.
And good morning, Kuhner country. Jeff, I would like to remind the state police, I hope you're listening, state police, and I'd like to remind the Boston police, and I'd like to remind the Quincy police, and all these sanctuary city police departments in these liberal Democrat cities that if you're confused, just analyze what you are, the word police. The word police, it ends in ice, I-C-E. So if you're all confused whether you're supposed to enforce the 10 Amendments of the Bill of Rights or you're supposed to enforce the Communist Manifesto, you took an oath to the Constitution, not the U.S. Constitution, not to the Communist Manifesto, okay? So we know all about your strategic inaction. They have a policy, just strategic inaction and everything. And I'm going to tell you something I experienced on the bus yesterday, Jeff, in a minute. But
David, do me a favor. Please hang on. I'm up against a hard break. I want you to tell me that story on the other side. I wish it was just strategic inaction, David. I wish. But it's more than that. It's open defiance and violation of the law. That's what they're doing. That's why they need to go to jail. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, we're going to go back to David in Boston, I promise. But first, Kuhner Country, listen to the new iHeartRadio app with preset buttons. You can set the app to play the Kuhner Report automatically. All right, it's the Kuhner Country poll question of the day, sponsored by Mario's. Mario's Quality Roofing, Siding, and Windows. Should governors, mayors, police commissioners, politicians who break federal law, in this case, Mayor Michelle Wu, Boston Police Commissioner Michael Cox, Governor Maura Healey, since Homan has singled them out, should they, A, be recalled, B, arrested? Should they be recalled, basically lose their jobs, or do you believe they should be arrested? You know where I stand. I am a B all the way on this. They should be arrested for breaking the law and aiding and abetting criminal illegal aliens. But that's me. I want to hear from you. You can vote on our webpage, wrko.com/Kuhner, wrko.com/Kuhner, KUHN as in National ER. You can also vote via X, and last night I was very active on X. You can vote at my handle, at the Kuhner Report. It's all one word, at the Kuhner Report, Kuhn is in National ER. David, you said you were on the bus recently. You wanted to share a story. Please pick up where you left off.
Yeah, this just happened yesterday. True story, Jeff. Within the animal sanctuary city of Boston. That's right, these sanctuary cities, Mr. Homan, as you well know, Mr. Tom Homan, they've turned them into animal sanctuaries. Now, I'm on the bus, Jeff. I was at the Basilica of Our Lady of Perpetual Help on Tremont Street, commonly called the Mission Church. And I got on the bus that runs between Nubian Station, which of course traditionally was Dudley Station, and it goes to Harvard Square. So I decided at a Sunday that I'd head over to the Coop, the Harvard Coop. I love to peruse the books. It's one of the best sources for books, you know. So I got on the bus at the Basilica. And anyways, when I got on the bus, I took the first seat, and across from me, Jeff, and there's cameras on the buses and everything, if anybody cared to verify my story. But right across from me, there was a double seat, and there was two men, and one of the men was obviously like out of his mind, like on drugs or whatever, you know, almost like he was having some kind of a seizure. And he couldn't sit up straight, so he fell over on his side. And when he was over on his side, the man, and I guess they knew each other. I could sense they knew each other or something. But the man beside him actually began pulling down his pants. And Jeff, I know this is a family show, so all I have to say, and this adult audience will understand what I'm talking about. And this man, this other guy, actually
You've made your point. You've absolutely made your point. Look, I know what you're saying is true because I can't tell you how many times I've gone through, whether it's the Common, that area of Harvard that you're talking about. I've been to that, you know, the stuff, the obscenity, the stuff that goes on in public defecation, public urination, how many mentally ill people, how many people on drugs, sexual acts being performed in public. Again, mass and cass, addicts shooting up right there on the street, right there, homeless encampments. I don't know what this mayor is talking about. I mean, she's living in La La Land. Now, I don't know if she believes her own bull, you know what, her own BS, or, you know, she's just putting it out there and hoping that there's enough, Bills in Sudbury and Franks in Gloucester to buy it. But Boston is becoming the San Francisco of the East Coast. It's a mess. It's becoming a third world hellhole. And, you know, I'm not saying it's all due to illegal immigration. Obviously, there are other issues. Very soft on crime. These district attorneys, a really permissive attitude when it comes to drugs and fentanyl and drug dealing and crime. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why Boston is declining and declining fast. But for her to go around and say, oh, my God, it's such a safe city. Oh, it's the safest city in the country. It's the safest city in the world. I want to know what she's smoking. That's what I want to know. Now, the larger point is this. She's the mayor of a major city. She has no right to be deliberately violating and defying immigration law and harboring illegal aliens, especially criminal illegal aliens. She has no right. Absolutely no right. You don't have to, this whole idea of a sanctuary city, to me, that's just like anarchy. That's what sanctuary city means. It's like, well, we're just not going to enforce the law. That's all. Now, imagine if I said that here, sex acts, child sex acts. We're just not going to enforce the law. It's a sanctuary for pedophiles. What if I told you that? You'd say, well, that's outrageous. It's a sanctuary for murder. You want to murder somebody? We gave you a sanctuary. You want to steal? We gave you a sanctuary. Whatever. You want to break any law you want? We give you sanctuary. You want to do all the drugs you want? We give you sanctuary. What would you say? You go, you can't do that. So why is it when it comes to illegal immigration, they break the law coming in and then break multiple laws after they come in, starting with identity theft? Suddenly it's okay, it's all kosher? Because liberals decide they just don't want to follow the law? No. She's breaking the law, put her ass in jail. And if Michael Cox, that police commissioner, if he wants to toe her line, put him in jail as well. When you start releasing child rapists and you're not replying or complying with detainers from ICE, my friends, you're no longer a mayor and you're no longer a police commissioner. You're a criminal. You're a criminal. That's what you are. Agree, disagree, 617-266-6868. Catherine in Boston. Thanks for holding, Catherine, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff. Listen, this is Catherine Vitale in Boston.
Hi, Catherine.
So, listen, the only resistance the rest of the country has seen from the people of Massachusetts is when a handful of us were protesting in front of Michelle Wu's house. You remember that? And they arrested us for it, right? So I want to ask you this. Next week, March 5th, Michelle Wu will be in D.C. to give testimony to defend her stance with the Boston Trust Act or whatever. So why don't you and your listeners, Julia Mejia is holding a rally in front of City Hall on March 5th at 11 a.m. Why don't we go counter-protest it? Why don't we go show the rest of the country that there's tons of us here that are not for this? Because they don't ever, the rest of the country doesn't ever see any resistance from us.
Okay, March 5th is a Wednesday. You want to do it at what time?
A.m. in front of City Hall.
11 a.m. in front of City Hall. Who's going to be organizing it?
Me, I guess.
Catherine, I'll tell you what. Do you have my email?
Yes.
Okay. Send me an email. Give me all the specifics, all the particulars. I got to run it up with legal. But if legal gives me the green light, I'd be very interested in speaking. I'd be very interested in speaking and in promoting the event. Because I think really the country needs to see, the city needs to see, the state needs to see that we law-abiding American taxpayers have had enough. We've had enough. So, Catherine, I'm not saying yes. Obviously, I got to clear with the legal department, but let's put it this way: count me as very interested. Catherine, super quick. What do you make of this police commissioner? You know what, Catherine? Do me a favor. Hang on. I don't want to rush it. I want to come back to Catherine Vitale. So she may be holding a rally. We'll see if she does. I'm going to let all of you know about it. Whether I show up or not, I still think it's a great idea. But I will try to show up. Let me ask all of you. Homan now is telling the police commissioner of Boston to take off his badge. He's no longer a cop. Is Homan right?
You said you doubled down on not helping the law enforcement officers of ICE. I'm coming to Boston. I'm bringing hell with me.
$750 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is if you want to be part of the show. That, of course, was border czar Tom Homan, with the full backing of President Trump, now saying he's bringing hell with him to Boston regarding Mayor Michelle Wu and, of course, Police Commissioner Michael Cox. I want to go right back to Catherine Vitale in Boston. Catherine, are you there? Do we have Catherine? Mike? Catherine, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, excellent. Catherine, I want to play a cut, and I want to get your reaction to it. Michael Cox is the police commissioner of Boston. He's apparently been decades in law enforcement. He is refusing to honor ICE detainers. And for the life of me, I don't know. I understand they're trying to go on about the Trust Act and the Supreme Judicial Court, the state Supreme Court, the Supreme Judicial Court ruling about the Trust Act, and you don't have to, uphold civil detainers from ICE. But that's not what Homan is talking about. I want to play this cut, and I want to get your reaction. This is Homan on why he's saying Cox has to go and Michelle Wu has to go. Roll cut 1A, Mike.
I looked at the numbers this morning. I stopped counting at 9. Nine child rapists that were in jail in Massachusetts. But rather than honoring an ICE detainer, release them back into the street. You're not a police commissioner. Take that badge off your chest, put it in the desk drawer. Because you became a politician, you forgot what it's like to be a cop.
Why won't Michael Cox honor a detainer? We're not talking about this person is an illegal alien, we want them deported. We're talking about either convicted or accused. These are people charged with child rape in our country illegally. Why won't he take child rapists off the streets and give them to ICE so they can be deported? What is wrong with this man? What's your theory, Catherine?
Michael Cox. Michael Cox wants to be a celebrity. Okay, they wrote a book about his life. He was a police officer a long time ago, and he sued the city and the police department because he got beat up by some cops while he was off duty, okay? So he didn't climb the ranks. He didn't earn his position. He got handpicked by Michelle Wu because he's a celebrity black token for Boston, I guess. And he does whatever Michelle Wu tells him to do. He's the same commissioner that fired Shana Catone and Joe Abishano because Michelle Wu told him to.
So basically, Catherine, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you're basically saying he's political and he's a poodle of Michelle Wu and he's fundamentally corrupt. He's not a serious law enforcement man. He's there to make a name for himself. And if people like, good, decent cops get destroyed, as the cops that you just mentioned, he doesn't care as long as he does the bidding of City Hall, correct?
Absolutely. He didn't climb the ranks. He didn't work to get that job. He was selected.
Catherine, do you think it's time to put people like Michael Cox and Michelle Wu in prison for violating federal immigration law?
Michael Cox and Michelle Wu should have been in jail a long time ago. So now would be about time.
Catherine, let me know about the status of that rally. Please email me and let's see if we can get something done. Catherine, thank you very, very much for that call. 617-266-6868 is the number. So again, this goes back to what I was talking about last week. Look at the corruption. Look at the corruption in City Hall. Look at the corruption out at the top of the Boston Police Department. Look at the corruption in the governor's office. Look at the corruption all over this state. And follow the money. That's why we need a Doge for Massachusetts. Follow the money. Because for them to be risking their necks like this, especially Michelle Wu and Cox, either they got a serious screw loose in their head, or there's a lot of money to be made to be a sanctuary city. 617-266-6868. Is it time to put the handcuffs on Michelle Wu and Michael Cox? Rich in Natick. Thanks for holding, Rich, and welcome.
Good morning. I wish your producer would put on a clip from the song from Vanilla Ice, 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 Baby, every time you come back on. But this is just an incident outside of Boston real quick, but still an example of the times. A Colombian passport carrying Uber Eats driver allegedly just raped a woman on a delivery in Wilbraham. He went to the house, to deliver the food, didn't speak English. The woman was nice, invited him in while she called Uber Eats to have somebody translate. And towards the end of the call, he grabbed the phone, shut it off, dragged her into the bathroom, and raped her. I mean, this stuff is just happening all over the place. Now, as far as these clowns in Massachusetts, Haley, Cox, and Wu, all I can say is you got to see the action. You know, the words on television sound good, but with no action means nothing. So I'd love to see them locked up. You'll see the change of attitude real quick.
Yeah, I think it's time. I really do. I think enough is enough. And, you know, Rich, look, just to reinforce what you're saying, I don't know how many more women have to be raped. I really don't. I don't know how many more children have to be molested. I don't know how many more people have to be murdered. I don't know how many more people of our young, especially our young people, have to die from overdoses regarding fentanyl. Here, we just had a friend of ours over the weekend tell us that his 18-year-old daughter, 18 years old, and she was a good kid, graduated from, or was about to graduate from high school, was going to go on to college, went to a party, and you know how kids are. Kids are stupid. They'll take a pill, some kind of an ecstasy pill, whatever. They were dancing and like, hey, let's dance till 5 a.m. You know, these are teenagers. They do stupid things. I was a teenager. We all do stupid things. So they gave her a pill, and she thinks it's just going to give her more energy to dance all night. It was laced with fentanyl. She's dead. She's dead. That's it. She's gone. She's dead. His baby girl is gone. He's never going to see her again. And she was a great student. She was a student athlete. She was going to go to university. And, you know, sweetie, yeah, fine, go ahead. Go with your friends. Go to a party. And she goes to a party and she comes back dead. Why? Because of the fentanyl epidemic. Now, to be fair, it's not just in this state. It's in New Hampshire. It's across New England. It's in large parts of the country. But my point is, how can you, and we know it's coming in because of the drug cartels and illegal alien drug dealers. We know that. This is beyond dispute. And you've got this clown of a mayor and this clown of a police commissioner and this clown of a governor. And things have never been safer. And we're such a safe city because we love illegals. And I'm like, you moonbats vote for this? Rich, I think the public has hit its breaking point. I think they have. And look, I said this before, I'll say it again. I love Tom Homan. I really do. I love the guy. But now, you know, you threw down the gauntlet. Great. Come into Boston. Come in big. Come in heavy. Start making a lot of arrests. And start with the mayor. And start with this clown police commissioner. In other words, enough is enough. It's a great soundbite. Now do it. Rich, thank you very much for that call. 617-266-6868. Is it Rondra? Rondra, hey, my fellow paisan in Rentham. Rondra, thanks for holding and welcome.
First time, long time.
Welcome, Rondra. Welcome.
Thank you. So Michelle Wu's statement, every time she gets up there, she says we want to keep our citizens safe. She's reversing that to keep the illegals safe that are harming the good citizens of USA.
Oh, you're dead on. You're absolutely dead on. Rondra, look, the question now is this. We've put up with it now for many years. A lot of people have died. A lot of women have been raped. A lot of children have been molested. And the drugs are pouring in. So we know the damage that they've done. We have a new administration. We have a new president. We have a new sheriff in town with Tom Homan. A, do you think he's serious? You think he is going to move aggressively against Mayor Wu and Police Commissioner Michael Cox? A, and do you think he should? Is it time for him to start locking these politicians up and making an example out of them? What say you, Rondra?
Them in their place and let them know that he's serious and he needs to bring some people in and clean up the place.
Yeah, Rondra, look, I'm with you. I'm with you. And look, you know better than anybody. I mean, you live in Rentham like I do. You've got illegals now in Rentham. There's now a drug problem creeping into Rentham and neighboring towns as well, obviously. So This is no longer a Boston thing, or it's not just Lawrence or some of these other cities. It's coming to the suburbs. It's coming to the exurbs.
We don't realize, but it is.
And we got to stop it. Go ahead, Ronja, please. The floor is yours. Go.
Every time she makes that statement, I just want to go through the radio or the television and just tell her to her face, stop making that statement. You want to keep the citizens safe. You reverse the statement. You're making the wrong citizens safe.
She's protecting illegals. Look, it's obvious. They want Boston and Massachusetts to be safe for illegals. I mean, that's the whole point of a sanctuary city. That's the whole point of a sanctuary state. It's to harbor and shelter illegal aliens. So who are they kidding? So they're willing to jeopardize our lives, our safety, our children, and frankly, use and steal, pilfer, fleece our tax money for them to load up the cities and load up the state with illegals because they think they're buying votes. That's what this is all about. It's about their political power. And the rest of us, be damned. Rondra, please, don't be a stranger. Call again. A very good call. Excellent point. 617-266-6868. Okay. Super quick. This police commissioner, Michael Cox. Okay, he's now in the political crosshairs. Homan singled him out, saying he should remove his badge. He's a joke and he's an embarrassment, which he is. And in particular, here is the interview that Michael Cox did on Channel 5 with Ed Harding. And as I said in my opening monologue, boy, the media in this state is pathetic. I mean, just pathetic. Just groveling in front of this guy. Giving him softball after softball. Really, it's, Commissioner, will you be honoring any ICE detainers? Please say no. Please say you'll keep us a sanctuary city and a sanctuary state. We're all good moonbats here. We're all good communists. Viva la resistance against Trump. I'm Ed Harding. Nobody watches me anyway because I'm an idiot. So here's a guy, Mr. Empty Suit, Ed Harding, with Boston Police Commissioner Michael Cox. Ay. Where did Michelle Wu find this guy? Holy mackerel. So he's now just mouthing her talking points. This guy's not a cop. Seriously, he's just a hack. So here he is hacking away. Roll cut 2A, Mike.
In the Boston Police Department has pretty defined rules set by the law, and we abide by the law here in the state. And we don't, enforce civil detainers regarding federal immigration law. It's defined here in the state, and that's just how it works.
That's just how it works. We don't enforce detainers here. Okay, well, what about for the child rapists? No? How about, murderers, MS-13, Trender Aragua? Child molesters? No, that's not. Oh, you don't do that? That's not your ballywick? Oh, okay, that's not your wheelhouse? Oh, okay, so take the badge off. Homan's right, take the badge off. Take the badge off. Now, 2 more cuts. You got to listen to this. I mean, this guy, not very bright. I'm telling you this right now. And you want to talk about a loyal soldier. Oh, he's really towing the Michelle Wu Healy line. I mean, you can see why they're all rallying around this guy. From Elizabeth Warren to Ed Markey, Ayanna Pressley, they're all, we back our commissioner 1,000%. Roll cut 2B. Now listen to this BS. Roll cut 2B, Mike.
It's hard enough to run the Boston Police Department. I could never fathom, running outside of that. So I do know this. Our officers are, abide by the laws here in the state and certainly in the city ordinance in the city of Boston. We don't have authority to enforce federal immigration law. And so from our perspective and what we tell anyone who comes to visit our city, lives in our city, is that we don't care about your immigration status. But what we do care about is, are you a victim of crime in our city, or are you a victimizer, right? So we will hold you accountable for that. And that doesn't matter what your immigration status is.
This is unbelievable. This guy, I'm sorry, forgive me, I'm sorry. I don't want to, I don't want to keep insulting the guy, but this guy's a moron. My God, what a moron. So, you don't care what someone's immigration status is? So, okay, so someone is an illegal. No, you don't care. They broke the law to come in. They don't care. Okay, they're an MS-13 gangbanger illegally in the state of Massachusetts. That's not my job. Oh, we don't care about your immigration status. We don't have the authority to enforce immigration law. It's hard enough running the Boston Police Department. We can't start deporting illegals. Hey, stupid. No one's asking you to enforce immigration law. No one's asking you to go out on ICE raids. No one's asking you to, go door to door, block to block, and say, hey, are you an illegal or are you not an illegal? No. Let me tell you what ICE is asking. Okay? And I know that Boston police can handle this because many cops have told me so. They want to do it. The rank and file want to cooperate with ICE. You're preventing them from doing it because your boss is telling you to prevent them from doing it. And it's simply this. Okay? Here it is. Piece of paper is sent to you. There it is. Usually in an email or some kind of a message, and they say, hey, you've got Joe Blow. Joe Blow is about to be released. Joe Blow, as you know, is a child rapist, either convicted or charged. He's an illegal. I'm going to pick a country, Colombia. He's an illegal alien from Colombia. We want to deport his ass. Can you hold him for 48 hours or 24 hours so our people will come and get him? Now, I got too much on my plate running the Boston Police Department. I can't do this. You can do it. Just say, guys, put a hold on him. That's it. ICE will be here. A day, 2 days tops. Now, you're telling me that the Boston police, this is what by the way, if you're a Boston cop and you're listening, if you're a cop in general in Massachusetts, forget that. If you're a cop in America and you're listening to this, you should be really insulted. What this clown is telling you is that you're so incompetent, you can't do basic bureaucratic paperwork. Joe Blow's being released, child rapist. Illegal alien. Can we hold them for 24 to 48 hours? Oh, I got too much on my plate. I can't do this. I can't do it. This is a clown show. I'm telling you, this is an absolute clown show. This is an insult. One more, and then I want to get your more with the calls, get your reaction. So, this is him. Now, they can't do it. They got too much on their plate. They don't want to ask people their immigration status. They don't even care if you're, in other words, if you're illegal. We don't care. Come on in. But now listen to this. This is their shtick now. Roll cut to C, Mike.
We just don't have authority to enforce federal law here, according to our state laws. And these are civil detainers. What people don't understand is there's a difference between criminal warrants and civil detainers. Any criminal warrant, if someone's wanted outside the state and it's a warrant involved, we will absolutely enforce it. We will enforce federal ones if it's a warrant involved because we're almost mandated to. But civil detainers are the defining line that we just don't do that because it's immigration related.
That's just, we don't do that. We just don't do that. Okay, number one, you can do it if you wanted to do it. That's the more important thing. Number two, again, I'm not talking about a single mother with 2 kids who happens to be illegal. Okay? We're not talking that. So, if you guys can't hold a MS-13 gangbanger, or a fentanyl drug dealer, or a rapist or a child molester, and you call yourself a commissioner, and you call yourself a cop, hang up your badge. Hang up your badge. Up your badge. Don't hide behind this ridiculous state judicial court ruling and say, oh, our hands are tied. No, your hands are not tied. You're tying your own hands because you want to keep Boston a sanctuary city. Shame on you. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, just very, very quickly, because the lines are, they are raging. Forget jam. They are screaming today. This is a really good text I got from a good friend of mine was formerly law enforcement. No longer in law enforcement, but was formerly in law enforcement. Jeff, I can't call in, but here's my idea. At the FBI headquarters in Chelsea, many law enforcement agencies work out of the building, along with local and city police officers called task force officers. They work on ATF, DEA, DHS, and FBI teams to enforce federal laws. Kash Patel, and now the new deputy FBI director, Dan Bongino, should suspend the task force officers of the cities and towns not wanting to enforce ICE operations. If these cities and towns can take the grant money and the seizure money from federal drug and gun busts, they can help ICE and the Department of Homeland Security, DHS. You are absolutely dead right. Absolutely. As I like to say, not 100, 1,000%. If you can take federal money and you can get in, and get even a cut of the seizure money and the drug bust money, and if you can take federal funds, you can comply with federal law. And if you don't want to comply with federal law, cut off all the federal funding, get rid of all these task forces, and let's see how these cities and towns do without federal help. There's got to be a certain point where the feds have to say enough is enough. And the Constitution on this issue is crystal clear. And the state judicial court, the so-called Supreme Court of Massachusetts, the judicial court, can go fly a kite. When it comes to immigration, federal law trumps state law. The Constitution is crystal clear. So they're violating their oath of office. They're violating the Constitution. They're defying federal law. They're harboring, aiding, and abetting criminal, illegal aliens. Now, I'm sorry, but it's time politicians be held accountable. And, I've made this point before, and it bears repeating. If you deliberately, like Michelle Wu and this police commissioner, Michael Cox, if you or Maura Healey, if you deliberately release illegal alien child rapists onto the streets, as they have again and again and again, you are responsible. You are responsible. And to me, it is the scandal of the highest magnitude that they continue to put people's lives, our children, our families, our communities in jeopardy. Enough is enough. Enforce the law. If you don't, it's time to slap the handcuffs on. At the bare minimum, they should be the subject of an investigation and should lose all federal money and federal funds. In other words, hit him in the pocketbook. And maybe they'll sing a different tune. 617-266-6868. Agree, disagree. Deb in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Deb, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff and Kuhner Country.
Hi, Deb.
Good morning, hey. And best regards to your wonderful, brilliant wife as well.
Thank you.
So, Jeff, here's the big picture. You're welcome, sir. You are looking at fragmented attacks here. The warriors that our warrior president has put in place, if you fly over like an eagle, you will perhaps recognize there must be a coordinated effort to strike all of these cities at the same time. Why is it that our warrior president gets to command the Marines? Why is he surrounded by military people more than civilians? So I present to the American people and to Kuhner Country, we cannot go into single cities in a fragmented fashion. We must have a coordinated effort here, and you must be patient. And I remind all of our American citizens, if we go to the emergency broadcast system and you get some food in the shelf and some water in the house, might be a good idea. I think that the coordinated attack will be over very quickly, but it could be 2 days, it could be 2 hours, it could be 10 days. I don't know. But in my heart and in my soul, Jeff, I do believe that this must be a planned, coordinated attack across the United States of America, including Alaska and Hawaii. We cannot do this in a fragmented fashion. What are your thoughts on that, sir?
Well, look, I agree with you. In theory, I think you're dead on. You can't do it piecemeal. You have to go after them and have a coherent strategy. And look, to be fair to Homan and Trump, it's only been 30 days. They are doing a lot of deportations. I know Trump is not happy. He just fired the acting ICE director, saying he wants the pace and the speed of deportations to go quicker. So he wants more done. But we are moving in the right direction. But look, on principle, here's, I think, where maybe some people disagree with me. I think it's time to make examples out of certain politicians. You know, arrest one and the rest will fall. 32 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, sanctuary cities now are on the chopping block. And it's now clear a showdown has been brewing for a long time between the Trump administration, border czar Tom Homan, and sanctuary cities and sanctuary states. Homan now has essentially said it's showdown at high noon. He's going to start with Boston, but it's not going to end with Boston. He's going to go to New York. He's going to go to Chicago. He's going to go to Denver. He's going to go to L.A. He's going to go to other cities. And basically now, not just implement massive deportations, but he's now saying police commissioners who will not comply or cooperate with ICE need to go. These mayors need to go. And if need be, the governors need to go. And so let me just ask all of you, okay, just to do a quick compare and contrast. Look at Eric Adams, okay, Democrat, liberal, very liberal, mayor of New York City, very similar to Michelle Wu, has run that city right into the ground, opened it up to illegals, opened it up to these so-called migrants. Crime has exploded. They flooded and swamped almost all of the hotels in New York. However, he's starting to cooperate with Homan. He's starting to cooperate with Trump. It may be grudgingly. It may be, late. And they're arguing about clawback money and how much money should New York get or not get. But the fact of the matter is, ICE is being allowed to go into New York. They are respecting detainers when it comes to child rapists, unlike Boston, or murderers, or gangbangers, or drug dealers, or sex traffickers. So they are complying with ICE detainers when it comes to these sick, violent, criminal, illegal aliens. And take the Roosevelt Hotel, the historic Roosevelt Hotel. Eric Adams has now come out and said they got to go. The illegals have to leave. Like, we can't do this forever. You got temporary shelter. It's been a couple of years. I'm sorry. Now, either find your own shelter or go somewhere else. So what I'm saying is, Adams is at least saying there are limits, our patience is running out, and we're going to start to comply. What is amazing is Massachusetts is following California and Illinois, to be honest, and Illinois. Those are the three, if you want to talk craziest states right now in the country. You know, if you want to call it the heart of the resistance, the heart of the resistance to Trump, are really those three states. They're doubling down. They're tripling down. Hell, they're quadrupling down. What Mayor Wu, okay, what Marxist Michelle Wu and Michael Cox and Healy are essentially doing is they're sticking their chin out and they're daring Homan to arrest him. It's like they're thumbing their nose, you know, and just saying, go ahead, cut the federal funding. We dare you. Go ahead, investigate us. We dare you. Go ahead, send in ICE, unleash hell. What are you going to do? Arrest us? We dare you. Now, I don't know if Michelle Wu has a martyr complex. I really don't. I don't know if her life is so empty and pathetic that this woman needs to go to jail for some moonbat cause to make herself feel better. Or maybe she believes it's her opportunity to become a political celebrity. But, you know, you can tell Newsom, it's the same thing. It's all political showboating. But it's almost as if, yeah, they've almost like a PR strategy. Yeah, let Homan come in, put the handcuffs on me. My God, I'll surge to the lead for the Democratic nomination. I'll skyrocket to the top to be the Democrats' nominee in 2028. So it's almost now like a sanctuary city arms race or a sanctuary state arms race between California, Illinois, and Massachusetts. And look at what it's costing the taxpayers. Okay, final point, because I want to go to the phone lines. Gavin Newsom is now hat in hand, almost like a beggar, pleading with Trump, begging Trump, we need billions of dollars to rebuild from all those wildfires. So he's asking for billions of dollars while he just spent millions of dollars in the state legislature Trump-proofing his state, doing everything he can to make California defy Trump. So you've got tens and tens of millions of dollars to turn California into a bastion of anti-Trumpism and to obstruct every executive order, every directive coming down from the duly elected president of the United States, but you don't have money to take care of your own people in the wake of a wildfire? Or here in Massachusetts? You have spent now so much money on these so-called shelters, Healy's hotels, and you've put so many illegal aliens on the mass health, on the state Medicaid system, that you've burned through all of the money. It's gone. You now have to raise taxes? She's calling now for an excise tax? $2 per prescription? So every time the Kuhner man goes for my cholesterol or my blood pressure or whatever, okay, I get my prescription meds. I go to CVS. It's $2. For all of you, it's going to be $2 if we don't stop this. Every senior citizen, $2. Every prescription you fill, $2 tax that you and I have to pay on our tab to fund Healy's illegals for their free health care and their free housing and their free shelter? Disgusting. 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 So how long are we going to pay for these welfare freeloaders? Like what? It never ends? Arrest Michelle Wu. Arrest Michael Cox. Enough is enough. 617 26, and by the way, Healy as well. All three of them. Enough is enough. At a bare minimum, cut their federal funding. Revoke, rescind, all of it. All of it. You want to play tough? Let's see how tough you are when you don't have the money to do basic social services. And your people will ask why. In order to coddle and harbor the illegals? Trump and Homan need to start playing hardball. Talk is great. Action is better. 617-266-6868. Agree, disagree. Roman in Boston. Thanks for holding, Roman, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. How are you?
Very good. How are you, Roman?
I'm well, but I'm really not well, to be honest with you. In this toilet bowl that Obama created that's called the United States, it goes around in a circle and everything ends up in Massachusetts at the bottom of the bowl. And we have it. I have been doing this job for a long time, Jeff. And let me tell you, I've been in these hotels, and it's like a communal system. Every door is open. There's feces. There's kids running around. There's dirt. There's filth everywhere. And we're paying for that. And you know what? I wish Tom Homan didn't say it. I just wish he would do it. Right? I don't want to telegraphing anything. I don't want to give Michelle Wu, Maura Healey, and Cox time to have sound bites and clips. Because like you said, they want to get arrested. They do. So they could reach martyrdom to their base. You know what I'm saying? That's what they want. And as far as ICE detainers, listen, I would talk to Cox, and I would be like, brother, we need to talk. But he's not my brother. He's not a cop. He's really not. He has not chewed the same dirt that I chewed, and hundreds of thousands of us in Massachusetts have chewed, dealing with these people. We're not talking about the abuela and the abuelo. We're talking about child rapists, murderers, gangbangers. We have an extensive database in this state as to where they are and what they're doing. All you got to do is drop a dime to the Boston Field Agency, ICE Field Agent, Field Headquarters. Drop a dime. Tell them we have them, and if you can't make it here, get to court because they're going to court, and grab them on the way out.
Roman, you're dead on. Drop the mic. Drop the mic. Roman, thank you very, very much for that call. 617-266-6868. Okay, trust me when I tell you this. A lot more next. 8:49 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, my friends, let me throw another huge log on the fire, as I like to say. It's a showdown that's brewing, not just in Massachusetts. I mean, we're in many ways the epicenter. But Maine is also emerging now as a major front in this battle between these rogue Democrat governors and mayors, and, of course, Trump and the Trump administration. As you know, Maine's moonbat governor, Janet Mills, may be just as crazy as Maura Healey. And by the way, if I can just say this as an aside, what the hell has happened to Maine? I mean, yeah, I always, a purple state, maybe a little bit center left. Yes, I get it. But holy shamoli. The Maine of today is not the Maine of 10, 15, 20 years ago. I'll tell you this. The Moonbats, especially apparently southern Maine, they are taking over. But anyway, let that go. So, Janet Mills thinks she's going to be another Healey or another Newsom. She's going to defy Trump. And in particular, as you know, Trump issued an historic executive order that has 80% support among the American people. 80% support. Overwhelming support among women and girls. Okay, females especially. which is that he is now banning biological men from competing in female sports. And if you do not abide by this executive order, you will lose your federal funding. The executive order is crystal clear. Janet Mills and her crazy moonbat administration in Maine is now openly flaunting the executive order. In fact, they've encouraged a school, and the school went ahead with it, with allowing transgender men or transgender women, biological men who identify as women, to compete in female sports. Janet Mills has turned her back on women's rights. Janet Mills is violating Title IX. She's violating the rights and dignity of all women and girls and females in the state of Maine. She should be ashamed of herself. But she's now declaring Maine effectively a sanctuary state for transgendered people. Men can go to women's bathrooms. Biological men can go to women's restrooms, locker rooms, showers, and they can compete in female sports, according to Janet Mills. Well, on Friday, at a meeting of the National Governors Association in Washington, D.C., with all the governors of the country there, Trump directly confronted Janet Mills. It was a thing of beauty. Listen now to Trump telling Mills to her face, "You better comply." Mills's response, "See you in court." Listen then to what Trump tells her. All of it right to her face. Roll cut 4, Mike.
The NCAA has complied immediately, by the way. That's good. But I understand Maine. Is Maine here, the governor of Maine?
Not here.
Are you not going to comply with it?
I'm complying with state and federal laws.
We are the federal law. Well, you better do it. You better do it because you're not going to get any federal funding at all if you don't. And by the way, your population, even though it's somewhat liberal, although I did very well there, your population doesn't want men playing in women's sports. So you better comply because otherwise you're not getting any federal funding.
See you in court.
Every state, good, I'll see you in court. I look forward to that. That should be a real easy one. And enjoy your life after governor because I don't think you'll be in elected politics.
That's why I love the guy. That's why I love the guy. He set her up beautifully. Oh, he played her like a fiddle. He played her like a fiddle. It was brilliant on Trump's part. You know, is Maine here? Is Maine here? Of course he saw her. He knew she was in the room, right? And then, she took the bait. Oh, I'm here. I want to be the resistance. Oh, I'm here. And then he's like, we'll see you in court. We'll see you in court. He's like, okay, you're going to lose. And when you lose, and you're going to lose bad, your political career is finished. It's over. Kaput. Finito. Now, just very quickly, this is what Janet Mills is defending. This is what she's defending. And this is what every crazy moonbat that keeps defending biological men competing in women's sports, their embrace of transgenderism, and the radical LGBTQ agenda. This is what they're defending. You tell me, how is this rational or decent or fair in any way, shape, or form? Listen to Trump talking to the governors, saying, do you know what female athletes have to put up with? Do you know what they're competing against? Roll cut 4A, Mike.
I signed an executive order banning men from playing in women's sports. Many Democrats are fighting me on that. I hope you continue because you'll never win another race. And it's just crazy. If you look at what happened with the boxing, if you look at what happened with the weightlifting numbers, where a record that hadn't been broken for 19 years got shattered by, they put up an eighth of an ounce here, an eighth of an ounce there, and it's 218 pounds or whatever, a lot. And hadn't been broken in 19 years. And then guy walks up who transitioned. He transitioned. And he knocked out that record by about 100 pounds. That will be a record not going to be broken again in a long. So we put a ban on it, and to protect women.
Of course. Look, he's completely right. Weightlifting, right? People who know weightlifting know exactly what I'm talking about. When you're looking at records, this is what you're talking about. Oh, 1/8 of a pound, 1/4 of a pound. 1 pound is huge. A previous record, I'm just going to, 218. He's going to go, or she's going to go for 219. Well, oh my God, can she do it? This biological man walks in, slaps on some lipstick, puts on some hair, a fake wig or whatever, little bit of eyeshadow. Ooh, I'm sexy. And boom, forget 218, 318. How's a woman supposed to compete? How is she supposed to compete? Now, it's not just blatantly unfair. By the way, you want to talk about sexist and misogynistic. This is to me the very definition of discrimination against women. And pure sexism and misogyny. Pure sexism and misogyny. Okay? But it's not just that it's grossly unfair. It's going to get women killed. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. Listen to Trump. You've got biological men now allowed to box against women? Boxing? Roll cut 4B, Mike.
The women, if you watch the Olympics, you had two transitioned people that were fighting in the women's boxing. They have women's boxing category. And if you saw that, it was brutal. What happened to the Italian woman was a really good boxer. After one punch, she said, no more. I've never been hit. It was a left. It was not even it was just a left jab. She got hit so hard, she said, I can't do it. They forced her to go out. No, go out again. You'll do it. Goes out again, gets hit again. No, that's it. She didn't want to die, and it's crazy.
She could have had permanent brain damage or a bleeding in the brain and been killed on the spot or a couple hours later in the hospital. That's what they're putting women into. And for what? For what? You're a biological man. You want to fight against fellow men. You have an XY chromosome, fight against someone else with an XY chromosome. Now, if you're really this transgender person, I don't know, I'm a man, I'm a woman, I don't know, we can create a separate transgender category. But this idea now that this is the hill Janet Mills wants to die on, that crazy moonbat, she's going to die on defending the rights of biological men to tear a woman's head off in a boxing ring or to break swimming records or weightlifting records by double or triple or quadruple the amount, where women, biological women, have no chance whatsoever to win? And she's, I'll see you in court. I'll see you in court. You're going to lose in court. You're going to get your head handed to you in court. But the larger point is this. Notice the lawlessness now. Again, no one is above the law. Remember, Trump's the supposed threat to democracy, right? Threat to democracy! That's all we hear. Who's defying federal immigration law? Michelle Wu, Michael Cox, Governor Healy, and Newsom and Pritzker in Illinois. Who's defying Trump's executive order on banning men in women's sports? Janet Mills. Moonbat Maine Democrat governor. Who's violating Title IX? Janet Mills. Maine Moonbat Democrat governor. So what is it now with these Democrats? You don't have to comply with Title IX laws? You don't have to comply with executive orders? You don't have to comply with federal immigration law? Like, you guys just do whatever you want on whatever issue? He should cut Maine's federal spending and federal funding, forgive me. And by the way, within hours of that encounter at the White House, where he told her, see you in court, the Department of Education, yes, baby, launched a civil rights investigation into Maine's policy under Janet Mills of allowing biological males to compete in women's sports. They're already now under the investigation from the DOE Civil Rights Division. And if they find that they violated women's civil rights, which they have, no federal funding for schools or universities in Maine. Education federal funds gone, withdrawn, rescinded. Now, let me ask the people of Maine, and in particular the liberals and the moonbats of Maine, is your child's education worth defending some guy going in the boxing ring to beat up on a woman? Is that worth it to you? Whether it be at the elementary level, the middle school, high school, college, university, you name it, you're going to lose all federal funding. It's going to hurt your child. Why would you want to risk those federal funds? Over what? Over what? So you can abandon the women and abandon female athletes? And by the way, I'm not just talking about track teams and sporting events and swimming and weightlifting and basketball and volleyball. By the way, scholarships are now being taken up increasingly by biological men posing as women. So girls, young women are being shafted in the scholarship front. But it's even worse than that. To me, the greatest violation of all is that these guys walk around in a woman's locker room. And by the way, they're still straight. They pretend to be women, but I'm telling you, when they see a woman, they get aroused. And you've got female athlete after female athlete saying that we have seen their private parts completely and utterly exposed to us, and they think it's funny. They shower in front of us. They walk around nude and naked in front of us. They're in our locker rooms. They're in our bathrooms. They're in our private space. As Nancy Mace said, I don't want to have to see a man's penis when I go to the bathroom, or when I go to the locker room, or when I shower after a workout. That's sexual harassment. That's a violation of a woman's fundamental rights and dignity. I mean, I have to even explain this? Like, is this how far gone most liberals are? Like, this is even a matter of debate or discussion? Now, if Janet Mills is willing to risk federal funding for her state's children and her state's schools and universities and colleges, if she's that irresponsible and that reckless, that radical, frankly, that insane, that crazy, she has no business being the governor of that state. No business whatsoever. So, you want to defy federal law? You want to violate federal law? You want to violate civil rights? There's going to be a price to be paid. So, it's not just Michelle Wu. It's not just Michael Cox or Maura Healey. Janet Mills now needs to feel the heat. If I'm Trump, pull the proverbial trigger. Cut all federal funding to Maine's schools, Maine's students, Maine's public colleges and universities. Pull all of the funding, all of it. And then let Janet Mills explain it to her people. Let her explain it to the people of Maine. As Trump rightly said, this is going to be your political Waterloo. 617-266-6868. Agree, disagree. Let me throw this log then on the fire. Should Trump cut all of Maine's education funding, federal funding for their schools, for you name it, across the board, colleges, universities? Should they pull all federal funding to Maine and the education front? Because Janet Mills wants to have men compete in women's sports. 617-266-6868. I say yes. What say you? Marilyn in Maine. Thanks for holding, Marilyn, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Marilyn.
I just wanted to make a couple of points. Yes, they should cut our funding. And unfortunately, we, the taxpayers, end up paying for whatever she's considering lawsuits. And Maine has the highest taxes in all 50 states. And we're going to be stuck paying her bills. And most people up here are not for this. It's just her. And, you know, Portland has gotten really bad. It's gotten really bad. And now she's saying she's welcoming 75,000 illegal immigrants into the state. She's on some crazy train, and most people up here are against this. But Marilyn, I think she wants
Marilyn,
to just...
Marilyn, I'll be brutally honest with you. I promise I'll give you all the time in the world. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but because I'm just, responding to what you just said. She's crazy. She's going to destroy your state. She is going to bankrupt and destroy your state. And I got to say, Marilyn, look, I know Maine tilts a little center left. I get it. You got Angus King up there, who caucuses with the Democrats. You've got Susan Collins, who's a very liberal Republican. So I know they went for Kamala Harris, I think by, 6 points or something in the last election. So yeah, I know, Maine can be, center left. But I had no idea they were as crazy as San Francisco. Like, what's happening in Maine? So what you're telling me, Marilyn, is this is coming from Janet Mills and her circle. You're saying this with ordinary people on the ground, they're not behind this, correct?
Correct. No, they're not behind this. And our elections go on and on, like Arizona's and California. It doesn't stop one day. It doesn't stop 1 week. It goes on and on and on. And the Democrats squeak out a win, which will tell you something about that. And I don't know, she's competing with Maura Healey to be the number one person against Trump. There's some competition going on there. And we're just as bad. I'm just telling, when you've been talking, I've been saying, you know what? Might as well stick Maine in there. She's tried to do it sneakily, but now she's out in the open because Trump called her out on that. And so the people up here are going bananas because there's a magnifying glass on her now. And we're the ones stuck paying the taxes because the taxes are so high up here. And we don't have the people to pay for it. We are a small population.
Marilyn, if Janet Mills continues down this road, takes Trump to court, she's going to lose, and then ends up costing all of that federal money for education. And we're talking school lunch programs. We're talking about elementary. We're talking about after-school programs. I mean, this is going to really hit a lot of people in Maine. They lose federal funding for schools and students. It's going to be a real blow. Are the people of Maine going to rise up against Janet Mills?
I would like to say that yes. I mean, there are a lot of people commenting on it. A lot of people are going nuts over this. It's not right. But I don't know how you stop these people. As you see, she's doubled and tripled down. I've noticed she's doubled and tripled down.
It's like some of them have a political death wish. And I think you really put your finger on it, Marilyn. There's a competition now. Who can out-moonbat one another? You know, who can outdo one another in resisting Trump? And it's making them take on more and more extreme, radical, and frankly unhinged positions. And that's what Janet Mills is. She's unhinged. A local 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, this pattern or waves of resistance are now spreading across the United States, whether it's sanctuary cities in Chicago, in Boston, in Denver, in LA, sanctuary states, California, Illinois, Massachusetts. Now it's also on the issue of transgenders in sports. Janet Mills, Moonbat governor of Maine, now says she will not oblige, she will not obey Trump's executive order or Title IX laws. She is going to allow biological men to compete in women's sports in high schools, colleges, universities all across Maine, even if it means she's going to lose all federal funding for students and schools. My question to you, in the face of this growing anarchy and lawlessness, what should the Trump administration do, if anything? 617-266-6868. Carlos in New Bedford. Thanks for holding, Carlos, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. So I know you moved on to a new subject, but if I may, can I talk about what you were talking about with
it's all on the table. It's all on the table today, Carlos.
I appreciate that. Thank you. So I wanted to tell you about the city of New Bedford. So we have a mayor named John Mitchell that is very good friends. Went to college with Maura Healey at Harvard. Okay, everybody can look this up. It's public knowledge. Okay, so he went to college with her, and he is down here saying that there is no, this ain't a sanctuary city. So, I mean, in New Bedford, because I have had conversations with him when we have a ward meeting in my city. Okay, I went there and I mentioned about sanctuary city and this and that, and he kind of scoffed and said, "No, New Bedford's not a sanctuary city. I laugh at that. Blah 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 blah." Well, I turned around. He's on the radio down in New Bedford. We have a radio station, WBSM, down here, that he's on every Wednesday at 10 o'clock, okay, with the host there. I mean, I'm sorry, 11 o'clock. And he's been called out by many residents like myself. There was a hit piece brought up that they did an estimate that there's 10. Now, Jeff, look at this. We have a city of 100,000, but of the recent 4 years, they did a hit piece saying that they estimated that there's 10,000 illegal migrants in our city. So I don't know if you remember, but I brought up an article that came up of 2 illegals that were sent to prison for child rape. I don't know if you remember, I brought that up to you. They were just sentenced to prison they came in Obama time, 2015. Okay, so they were just sent to prison for child rape. So he's saying that he is not going to get in the way of Homan or anything with ICE. He's not going to. He said that to me on the radio. I called him out on it. He said he's not going to get in the way. Well, guess what, Jeff? And this was before the holidays. I asked him this. Okay, it was right around the election time. And he said he was not going to get in the way. My police chief ain't getting in the way. Well, do you know over the holidays he hosted a gathering with illegals in a church of our city, one of the churches in our city, with an immigration lawyer and the police chief there, basically coaching him what to do, what to say. He took the video off his Facebook page so nobody would see it. So he's in cahoots. And now the chief of police is stepping down, and the word is that he's stepping down because he doesn't want to be just like Michelle Wu and get the heat that they're going to get in the way. So that's what's going down. I hope Trump's team is listening to my conversation with you right now, that he makes a trip down to New Bedford, because there's plenty of it going on. We have a park, a soccer field that was never used, a skate park for the kids for skateboarding, was never used up until 4 years ago when this all started happening. If they want to make a drive-by, you can find it every day of the week. They're there in the summertime. It's loaded with people there now, and I won't say who they are, but you get where I'm getting at. So what's happening down in everywhere of the state? He said there's no trickle-down immigrants over here, illegals. Well, guess what? He's buddy with Maura Healey. You can look at.
Oh, he's a liar. Carlos, look, you're absolutely correct. You are dead on, and I want to congratulate you for your courage, because you're saying what many people in New Bedford are thinking, and frankly in towns, not just across Massachusetts and New England, but across the country. He's a liar, and he knows his town is infested with a ton of illegal aliens, and he knows that there's drug dealing going on, there's sexual assault going on, that children are being preyed upon. He knows all of this, and he doesn't give a damn. And that's why, if I'm Homan, get ICE into New Bedford, start making massive arrests, blame the mayor specifically, call a huge press conference, and get Trump on the phone even, and say, you know what, to New Bedford, you just lost all your federal funding. If this clown of a mayor wants to stand there and give instructions to illegals on how to evade ICE, then your town is not going to get a single federal cent. Don't blame us. Blame that clown of a mayor. Just enough is enough. Really, seriously. We've got to start standing up to these people. And the question we have to ask them is this. Who is your allegiance to? Is it to the citizens? Is it to the constituents? Is it to the Constitution of the United States? Or is it to illegal foreigners who have no business being in our town, in our state, and in our country? New Bedford's mayor is a traitor. If no one else has the guts to say it, I'm going to say it. And I'm getting sick and tired of all these traitors. On the great WRKO, Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868 is the number. Rocky in Winchester. Thanks for holding, Rocky, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Rocky.
I've got an interesting situation here. My nephew wrestles for Reading High School. Last week, they wrestled Winchester. And what happened? They do it by weight class, okay? They match up weight class by weight class, and that's who you get your opponent. He was scheduled to wrestle a girl, the opposite of the other way of what we're talking about. They scheduled him to wrestle a girl. If he refused to wrestle the girl, they would count that as a loss. So you don't have to go to Maine to see this ridiculousness show. How about he has the girl is wrestling on the men's team? Winchester is a disgusting town. I hate living here. I hate these liberals, but my Trump flag flies, and I'm not moving. But how about that? He had to wrestle a woman or lose the match.
Rocky, if you don't mind me asking, what did he end up doing? Did he end up wrestling or did he forfeit?
No, he didn't forfeit. He wrestled her, and he won. You know, he's on the football team. He's a rugged guy, and Winchester put a girl in to wrestle him. What's wrong with these people in Winchester?
She's lucky she didn't get hurt. Rocky, if you don't mind me asking, did you actually see the match?
I went there. I'm a Winchester resident, but
no. So, in terms of physical size and strength, did he overpower her? In other words, was she a big, strong girl, or when you looked at her, you said, "Lady, honey, you got no right being in the same, mat with this guy. He's going to break you in half." Like, how bad was the strength disparity between the two?
Overwhelming.
See, that's so dangerous. You see, that's what I mean. Like, these people in Winchester, those moonbats, they're crazy. They're crazy. That girl could have got... Rocky, am I wrong? She could have gotten seriously injured. Am I wrong?
And I mean that in both ways. You're right. But, what he had to do it, otherwise he'd have a loss. So he did what he had to do. It was over 1, 2, 3. and that was it. But you really couldn't tell because they have the ear patches and stuff, and it's hard to say that she did not look very feminine, but what they give them to wear in wrestling, it sort of disguises it. But they do it by weight class, so they're both in the same weight class. Whether she had big muscles or not, I couldn't tell. But he had to wrestle a woman or lose the match.
I have a nephew, I'm sure in terms of size, very similar, to what you're talking about. And he plays football and he wrestles. You mentioned, rugged guy, same thing, very rugged guy, does a lot of weightlifting, really strong, physically very fit. He could break me in half. I'm 6'3", 200 and, I think I'm under 260 now, Rocky. I'm trying to lose weight. But anyway, let's just, let's say 259. I'm going to humor myself. So 6'3", 259. Rocky, this guy would destroy me in 2 minutes. I mean, wrestling, not wrestling. The kid's a tank. I can just imagine what he would do to a female. Rocky, I've got to ask you, is she in the same locker with the other boys on the team? Like, do they see, does she see them naked when they're changing or showering? Do they see her naked when she's changing and showering? I mean, do you know anything about that?
The team. The Reading is the team my nephew wrestled on. Reading has. And they just I did it by weight class, and I put the girl in against him. I don't think he knew it was going to happen. They just They just do. You're a number in a weight class, and there's your opponent. Okay. So I don't know what Winchester does. I know that whenever I see a political sign,
what I do for Massachusetts in general. Honestly, I just drive down, let's say Route 1 or 95 or 93 or whatever, and I'm just driving. I'm like, oh, who are the Dems pushing out? Okay, well, just vote the opposite. And everybody says to me, how come you're so sure about this candidate? Because if the Moonbats are pushing that one, you want the other one. Rocky, great story. Thank you very much. Well, there you go. You don't hear it often. You know, girls competing against, in other words, girls identifying as boys or males, to compete against males. It happens once in a while, and here it is. So Rocky's right. You don't have to even go to Maine. It's right here in Massachusetts. 6-1. It's usually the opposite, though. You know, it's usually biological men claiming to be women competing against women. But here you have a woman or a female claiming to be a male and competing against a male. And, of course, she lost. That is big shock. 617-266-6868. Alan in Maine. Thanks for holding, Alan, and welcome.
Thank you so much, Jeff, for taking my call.
My pleasure.
First, I just want to say quickly, God bless Donald Trump. There's thousands of us up here in Maine that have been waiting for this tyrant to have someone actually tell her what's going to happen. Because for the last 6 years, she's been an absolute tyrant, and I really believe we have a different Trump, Jeff. I really do. When he was almost taken out and shot in the head, I think right then he made a commitment to God that he's going to put God back on the throne where he belongs. This Janet Mills, what's going on up here, Jeff, is absolutely insane. I mean, from the shot mandates up here during COVID, she closed churches. We've lost so many nurses lost their jobs because of the forced shots. I mean, she's not just being like this because of transgenderism. She's also doing this with offshore wind. She's told everybody in Maine that she's still going to go forward with her $498 million project on an ancient Indian burial site on Sears Island. She's still going to go forward with that. She's still going on with it. I don't know where the money's going to come from. She absolutely is on a Marxist tyrant train ride, and she's dragging us all with her. And it's so wonderful when Trump came out and said what he said, and just flat out gave so many in Maine a voice. Because whether it's from ranked choice voting up here, from just Susan Collins, Angus King. I mean, it's just been absolutely awful. Maine is not a blue state. I mean, I know a lot of people think Maine's blue, but if you really look at Maine, the coast might be blue, Portland's blue, but the rest of our state is red. Because, I mean, we had Paul LePage for 2 terms up here, and Paul LePage was he was a wonderful governor. He really was.
Oh, he was amazing. I agree with you. I love Paul LePage. I love the guy in a non-sexual way, obviously, Alan. Alan, I've got to ask you this, and you're right. Northern Maine, rural Maine, the inland Maine, outside of Portland and the coastal areas, red, red, red. Completely right. But in terms of Portland and those coastal areas, I've been hearing now from a lot of my friends up there and listeners, they're saying, Jeff, this is going to shock you, but the liberals in Maine are, Jeff, I think they're just as crazy as the liberals in Massachusetts. And I'm like, come on. Like, are you serious? Jeff, I'm telling you, our moonbats can match your moonbats. Is it that bad, Alan? Seriously, is Maine becoming politically as crazy as Massachusetts?
You're right on. You are right on. Because when you talk to people, when you talk to plumbers, when you talk to construction men that are out there working on these people's homes, they say the same thing. These people, I mean, they have their TVs going, they have their radios going. People we're listening. We know what they're into. We see the signs they put out by the roads. These people are radicals. They are, Jeff. You're absolutely, whether it's Bar Harbor, because in Bar Harbor, I want to let people know too, in MDI, there was a transgender on the bus who beat a young girl with a water bottle, a steel water bottle. A transgender, a boy pretending to be a girl, got onto the bus and beat a little girl with a steel water bottle. And I haven't heard one senator. I haven't heard any of the senators up here, Jeff. It gives me goosebumps when I hear Donald Trump taking these people on, because this is such a spiritual battle. This isn't with the flesh. I mean, you just had over 70 Christians beheaded. I mean, all of this, Jeff, is connected. And thank God we have Trump, because you're absolutely right that the radicals are just taking over all our newspapers. They're taking over our radios. And if it's not for you, Jeff, and a few handful of others that are taking this conversation and keeping it going, we wouldn't have any place to talk about it. You know, it's like that tree falling in the woods. Is anybody there going to hear it? No. I mean, look at COVID. I'm sorry to bring that back up, but when they closed the churches down, my God's not a fake make-believe God. I'm sorry to let everybody know. You just can't turn him off and on. He's here, consistent.
Oh, I hear you. No, Alan, look, they closed the churches. They denied us our fundamental religious liberties and our fundamental religious rights. And to me, what they did was unforgivable. Unforgivable. All right. Maine is as crazy as Massachusetts. 9:49 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay. So, you know, many people are asking, Jeff, I think you and Alan may be right. It looks like Maine politically is just as bad as Massachusetts, you know, or if not as bad, almost as bad. In other words, they could give us a good run for our money. So why? What the hell happened? I think Jack on Messenger may have the answer. So this is what Jack messaged me maybe about 8 minutes ago. Jeff, quote unquote, mass-hole communists bought property over the years in both New Hampshire and Maine. Both states were once very conservative states. So the massholes bring their communist political views to these states. That's why they're rapidly changing to the left and to communism. In other words, mass refugees. And we've seen it in New Hampshire. And I think this explains in many ways what's happening in Portland, Maine, in the coastal areas. And I think really the trigger, I know it's been going on for a while. I get it. It wasn't just the last 4 or 5 years. But I think the real big impetus was COVID. People wanted to get out of the cities. If you remember, we're all going to die. They wanted to go up into the woods, into the wilderness, into more wooded areas to escape COVID. And so they began to buy second homes or even sell and move first homes and live in New Hampshire, in Maine, and voila. That's why New Hampshire is trending blue, Maine is blue, and like locusts, wherever they go, they destroy. 617-266-6868. But politically, there is not a dime's worth of difference now between Janet Mills and Maura Healey. You couldn't have said that even 10 years ago. So yeah, Maine is changing, and it's changing for the worst. I hate to say it. Kathy in Rochester. Thanks for holding, Kathy, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Kathy.
We have to get through our heads that the Democrats do not care about us, the tax-paying American citizens. They don't. What they care about are the illegals. They care about the criminals, letting the criminals out of jail. They care about everyone's rights and about everything other than what the American citizens deserve. And I wanted to just enlighten you on this. I don't know if you heard about this, if you're familiar with MIRA, which is the Massachusetts Immigrant and Refugee Advocacy Coalition. They are having a 2-day immigrant rights conference in Boston. It's on date here. It's in March 18th and March 19th at the Mass Cultural Arts Center, 41 2nd Street in Cambridge. And, I think this would be a great event for us to have busloads of people going and protesting because, once again, you look at MIRA has 140-plus organizational members all telling these people what to do, where to go. They give people these cards, so if they go and if ICE knocks on their door, they tell them, just take your red card and slip it under the door, and it tells them that they're not going to talk to them, and, they have their rights, and it is unbelievable. But yet you have people... You have senior citizens, you have veterans. Where are their rights? They don't have any rights as far as these idiot Democrats are concerned. I was in Market Basket in New Bedford yesterday, and thank God for Carlos. He is 1,000% right about John Mitchell, a complete and utter moonbat. The guy is a lawyer. He has zero common sense. I mean, zero common sense. It's amazing. I'm in Market Basket. I had a couple of bags. It was like $100. I bought a few extra things I knew would be a big bill. I came out, and there's this Guatemalan woman pregnant with her little kid with a basket chock-a-block full, must have been $250 worth of groceries. I was cursing to myself. I couldn't believe it. And this is going on, and we're getting nothing. We have people, elderly people in this state who apply for SNAP, and you know what they get, my friend's sister? $23 a month. $23. I mean, what's that going to buy you? That's going to buy you nothing.
Oh, it's an insult.
Yet all these illegals are getting.
No, Kathy, I agree. It's an insult. No, look, really, I'm kind of being a little bit half joking, but really, I'm not really, trying to be facetious. What are they protesting for? No, really, these illegals. So ambulances are free. Hospitals are free for them. Hospitals are free. Mass health is free. Shelter is free. Rent is free. Food is free. Everything. Their education is free. Everything is free. So what are you protesting for? Like what? You don't want to pay for booze? No, really. Like what is it? When you buy drugs, you don't want to pay for the drugs? Like what else? We buy them cars. Literally, we buy them cars. SUVs. A $2,000 prepaid Visa gift cards. Like, what isn't free? So what are they protesting? It's disgusting. Really, it's true. Look, I want to credit Howie Carr because Howie was the one who first came up with the phrase, just treat me like an illegal. He's completely right. No. Don't treat me like an American citizen. Please, I'm begging you. No. Just treat me like an illegal. That's all I want. Mike, 30 seconds left? Already? Boy. All right, Kathy, thank you very much for that call. To all the callers out there, absolutely outstanding show today. We're going to stay on top of this. Trust me, this is not going anywhere. Tom Homan, Tommy, buddy, if you're listening, go get him. You unleash hell. Go get him. Bye-bye.